The meeting is now reconvened to open session. The board would like to remind the public that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. It is also available via live stream for the public through links found on the front page of the RUSD website. We would also remind everyone to please enter and exit through the lobby. The board met previously for closed session. Clerk of the Board Price, will you please read the action taken by the board in closed session?
Yes. In closed session, the board voted to release one classified employee from their position pursuant to Education Code 45113. The vote was unanimous.
Thank you, Trustee Price. Tonight we have Callista Zorales from Victory High as our student board rep. Callista, will you please introduce the color guard and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Presentation of the colors by the Whitney High School Air Force Junior ROTC Color Guard and the Pledge of Allegiance. The commander and the U.S. flag bearer for this evening's color guard is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Heaven Green. State flag is carried by Cadet Major Jenna Anderson. The right guard is Cadet Colonel Caleb Souza. The left guard is Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Michael Collins. The alternate tonight is Cadet Captain Dominic Bora.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. They always do such a great job. Now moving on to our special recognition and presentations portion of the meeting. Mr. Flowers, will you please introduce our family partners in education recognition tonight?
President Hupp, Trustee, Superintendent Stock, I'm honored to come before you. As you know, we have the tradition that we've been doing for a number of years now that we value each and every one of our families and started this special recognition program. This evening, it's my honor to introduce Principal Scott Hutton from Victory High School, and he will be introducing the family.
Good evening, President Hupp, Trustees, Superintendent Stock. You may know that the Family Partners in Education is one of my most favorite events of the year because at Victory High School, we have the opportunity to celebrate students on a daily basis for a variety of things, whether it's attendance or academics or my favorite, which is just good character. But it's not often that we have the opportunity to recognize our parents. And so tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Miss Kristen Strand. Please come on up. So, Kristen, she has been overly generous, both in time and energy in terms of supporting us in a variety of things, but mostly has been instrumental in guiding our school improvement. As an active participant in our school site council, Kristen has provided valuable perspective and recommendations on our most critical plans, including our comprehensive school safety plan, local control and accountability, our comprehensive support and improvement, and of course our Title I funding. And in every instant, it is very clear that Kristen is looking out for our students and our school community at the forefront of every decision that is made. Kristen and her 3 sons have been Rocklin residents since 2008. Connor, the youngest of 3, spent all of his elementary years, including his TK at Twin Oaks, at Rucola, right? At Rucola, Then moved to Springview, and then to Whitney High School, and then currently is an exceptional junior at Victory High School. Karsten, who is Kristen's middle son, followed a similar path, and I had the pleasure, quite honestly, of introducing him and providing him his diploma in 2021. And finally, Andrew, who I want to recognize as well. Her oldest son now lives in North Carolina and is a Marine Corps veteran. Did I get that right? Okay, beautiful. If all this isn't enough, really, to recognize what an amazing family this is. I think it's real important to know that Kristen is also a single parent. And single parents have my utmost admiration. You really are the superheroes. And so we greatly appreciate all that you do. And for not only what the Strands do to care for each other, but how they support our community, I think that they are certainly deserving of this very important recognition. So thank you again. You betcha.
Thank you so much. So on behalf of the board, I'd like to present you with this certificate to show our appreciation for everything that you've done. Spending the time being involved in site council is very important, and we appreciate you very much. And this is a little gift from Menchie's that they've provided, and yeah, we hope you enjoy it. Yes, thank you so much.
Take a picture. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we will now turn it over to Dr. McDonald, who will introduce our employee recognition recipient.
Thank you, President Hupp, and good evening, trustees. It is my honor to recognize bring up the principal from Twin Oaks Elementary. That is Jamie Iverson. She's going to be continuing our new tradition of recognizing outstanding employees who go above and beyond. And this is a very special teacher who's truly amazing. So, Ms. Iverson, come on up.
Good evening, President Hupp, trustees, and Superintendent Stock. I had to make notes because I don't want to forget anything amazing about Kelly Rodriguez. So Kelly, come on up. Twin Oaks would like to recognize Kelly Rodriguez. She was actually my son's teacher when we first moved to Rocklin. So she's my first encounter with a teacher, but this did not just come solely from me. This came from the staff who voted her as to be recognized tonight. She has an amazing dedication to learning. Not only did she step up to take the 4-5 combo this year for the students, but she also did it for her colleagues because one was returning from maternity leave and the other one was a new teacher. So Kelly said, I will take it, knowing how hard the task would be to teach 2 different grade levels. She still continues to amaze me with her energy level in the classroom. She just creates this warm, inviting learning environment that nonstop from the beginning of the day to the end of the bell. They're singing, they're doing hand gestures, they're responding, whole brain learning. She even has already put on a play this year with the students, and it was the Munchkin, wait, let me get this right. It was a musical, and it was the Munchkin Mediation, the Conflicts, and the Resolution of Oz. So the students were full for it. It taught all the students at Twin Oaks a message, and it was really good. She meets her students' needs. She makes sure that everybody's taken care of. The relationships that she builds with the students is, I mean, just watching her interactions with the kids, the way the kids talk to her, the way she talks to them, the smiles, the hugs. I can't even say enough good things about her. So if you're ever at Twin Oaks, you will hear math songs, just different things. The students absolutely adore Ms. Rodriguez, and I've already gotten requests for next year for her class. If she teaches the next grade, I'm like, I don't know what that looks like. So the students at Twin Oaks love her, we love her, and we're just proud to have her. And now she gets to call up her family, too.
Yes, for sure. Okay, turn around and show everyone your cute smile. Doesn't she just look so fun? I'm like, I just may come by and sing or something.
No, you have to come by and see her. You'll be amazed. Like, it's nonstop energy.
I would love it. We are just so grateful to have you. Thank you for your energy and your enthusiasm. I can tell that it's contagious, and thank you for all you're doing for kids, and please never retire. We appreciate you. This is for you, as well as this big basket that's beautiful. I know. You're like, yes. Go on. Yes. And bring your family up, and we'll take a photo. Come on.
All right, that's awesome. I love it whenever kids get to see their parents being honored. That's so wonderful for them to see that, how awesome their mom is. So we'll now recognize our Martin Luther King Day contest winners. Ms. Anderson, will you please introduce our winners?
Good evening, Board President Hupp, trustees, Superintendent Stock. Tonight I am honored to recognize a group of students that participated in the Poetry and Poster Contest during the 5th Annual Placer Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebrations, which took place locally on January 16th. We have 9 award winners we are going to recognize tonight in both the poetry and poster contests. We will start with our poster winners. So I'm going to switch so that I can look and find them. I've greeted each of them this evening. They know the plan, so they're excited to come up here and be recognized. All right, third place in the poster contest in the K-5 category was Hadia Muhammad from Valley View Elementary. Our second place winner from Valley View Elementary is Maya Brookover. And our first place winner in the K through 5 grade category from Valley View Elementary, Arfa Muhammad. We will now bring up our 5th through 12th grade category winners in the poster contest. Our third place goes to Abigail Stonehawker. And I should say the third place. The second place winner goes to Kai Zamaila from Rocklin Elementary. Congratulations. And our first place poster winner in the 5th through 12th grade category was Ada Nazneen from Granite Oaks Middle School. Congratulations. We are now going to recognize our poetry contest winners in grades 1st through 6th. Third place, I don't think she could be here tonight, but just want to recognize Haley Lamborn. Oh, she showed up! Yay, Haley! Woohoo! Congratulations. Our second place winner in the poetry contest from Sunset Ranch is Audrey Parker. We are going to re-recognize our first place winner of the poetry contest, who is already up here with us this evening, Hadia Muhammad. In grades 7 through 12, we are also recognizing Ada Nazneen, who is up here with us. Congratulations. Third place, Granite Oaks. And our first place winner from Rocklin High School, Amisha Benjara. Congratulations.
So, guys, amazing. Thank you very much. Thank you for everything you did. This is amazing that you guys put the time in, the poetry. I saw some of the artwork. So again, thank you for this. Parents, this is amazing. This is one of those things that in the district, our kids went out, they performed, they executed, and they got great awards. So thank you for all this. And we have the artwork, so please share that, show that to everyone. Thank you guys, teachers, family. Thank you guys for supporting. Thanks for putting this in the community. Tawana, thanks for helping out and coordinating. Real quick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, families and principals and teachers who came to support the children. If you want to stay for the whole meeting, you are more than welcome, but this would also be an okay time if you want to get up and head out for the evening. Yeah. All right, and we have one public comment on agenda item 5.3, so we will invite Tawana Armstrong to come on up. You have 3 minutes to address the board. Thank you.
So, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Stock, thank you guys so much for partnering with MLK and being able to spread the word so that we could have our local students participate in the contest. We held our 5th annual MLK Day March and family celebration, and it was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for partnering with us, getting the word out to the community so that we could have our students participate in the poetry and the poster contest. And as you can see, absolutely love having them showcase how phenomenal they are. So See My Child, my nonprofit, is exactly what we want, is to share with our community and the world what they can accomplish. And so your partnership means a lot. I want to thank Trustee Sutherland and Superintendent Stock and some of the other staff for being there and supporting that day. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Okay, we are now moving on to employee organization reports. Welcome RTPA President Travis Moget to present the RTPA report.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So 2 things before I start. Next week, I'm bringing my trophies because I feel inadequate in the room now with all the awards that we just handed out. And Roger, I think a soft serve machine in the district office is definitely well-deserved, as much free yogurt as we're giving out now, so just throwing it out there, see if it sticks. But no, good evening. It's been a while since I've been able to come to the meetings. I know Emily was with you guys last time. Things went well. Welcome, Michelle. I haven't actually been here as a trustee, so welcome to the board and good luck. So coming tonight with just, I feel like we've been on such a wave of like positivity and uplifting updates, and we're going to continue down that path until we don't get to anymore. So as many of you guys may know, we've been doing a lot of work with our labor group the last couple of weeks, especially really dedicated work there. It's been really cool because leading up to our labor work days last week, Carrie, you, myself, and then occasionally the rest of our executive board have been out doing site visits since the fall. We've been to about half our school sites at this point. Hopefully we'll get the other half later this spring. But the weight lifted off of our staff as a result of that labor work. And we know we've talked about it and we've seen it, but we're like tangibly seeing it week after week, site after site as we're making these site visits. And even the sites where things aren't going as well as they want them to be, that's the number one thing, is like just the lack of all this that's been in the past, that's we're glad to have in the past, has been such a weight lifted off our staff, and we're seeing it. Even though they're still overworked and there's all the fun and craziness of school, it's just one less thing, and it's the thing that, you know, Julie, you and I have talked about it off and on a lot. There's what can we take off that plate, or what can we do to balance that plate? And that's the thing, and it's just really awesome to see. And I hope when you guys are out on site visits and talking to people, you're hearing and seeing the same thing. So I just want to commend everybody again for all the people that are doing that work, especially Superintendent Stock, because he and I have been partnered on that, doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work and a lot of conversations within our own groups as well as with our third-party facilitators. And it's just been great to get their feedback and then to also kind of show off what we've been doing when they came last week, which was really cool. Some other updates with that labor work is it's been a long time coming of when are we going to be able to expand this work outside of the original labor group and the site rep and admin teams and those that have kind of expanded. And just last week, we started making commitments to expanding that work to every branch of the district office, of school sites. It was really cool. One of our tasks last week was we gave school sites a good problem to work on together to help build and grow that collaborative culture at their sites. And some of the first questions we got from principals and site reps were, can we bring in our classified staff? Can we bring in our so-and-so, right? It's so much more than just their management and their certificated staff, and just the idea of that's who their culture is. And there was no question before they found out yes or no that they're going to include those people, whether it's within the rules or not of our project. They're going to change and make the rules work, which is exactly what we want them to do. So it was just really cool to see that. Again, another one of those tangible things coming. On that same note, we've already started closing some issues in bargaining already. So we've got just little kind of things along the way. We've been really focused on just contractual language through the first semester, wrapping up some things from last year, addressing things as they kind of come. It's been like a good situation of firefighting of like when real issues come, we have the time and the resources to talk about them and address them now and not have to let that problem grow and fester until we have time to address it later. And then that's letting us kind of empty the bargaining plate for all of the fun stuff in the spring that comes around with, you know, where our dollars and cents going to land, where our program's going to land, where employees and programs within those employees our employees within those programs going to land. So it's been great continuing my work with Tony and with Roger on a lot of those topics, and then also to bring in a lot of our own RTPA leaders. It's nice that we're really trying to branch out to where when stuff comes up, it's not the same 2 or 3 of us that are fielding every phone call. But are actually putting people in place where we have experts that, I'm not an expert in every field, believe it or not. Superintendent Stock's great. He's not an expert in every field either, and we both recognize that within ourselves and have been able to start teaming up people to field those issues and collaborative work together. So again, hopefully have just more of that news continuing through the spring. I know our membership's extremely excited to like, are we going to beat the June contract date this year? Are we going to, they're all eager to, but it's nice. It's a good pressure to have them expecting the contract and things are going to be settled for the most part before we go into summer, and just the weight that lifts off everybody to truly go into their time off and actually be able to get that well-deserved R&R. So that's kind of the general update for tonight. Again, hopefully have more on those topics and more details as we keep continuing down that bargaining path and other updates.
I'm just going to make a quick comment. I appreciate what you shared, and I'll share with my colleagues that Julie and I have really enjoyed the labor management work, and I'm glad that you shared the expansion of it's not just this team, it's gotten bigger and bigger, and you can feel the positivity, you can feel the energy on sites, which is awesome. So, great work.
Thank you, Travis. All right, now to 6.2. Welcome CSEA President Chuck Haddix to present the CSEA report. Good to see you, Chuck.
Good evening, President Hupp, trustees, and Superintendent Stock. I got a whole lot here. So we were able to ratify the articles that we went through with our group on January 27th, to which everything passed unanimously. So that was all good. On February 27th, we're going to ask the membership what articles they want to open to sunshine to you, and hopefully we can get that rolling by March 1st or March 15th at that board meeting. So that's what I'm projecting to shoot for. So that's what I'm going to keep my fingers crossed to keep it in line. I got one thing, though, that was kind of bothering me personally. I reached out to Tony and talked to him about it, and he said that I should let you guys know, too. During my time as president, I leave early. I don't stay for the whole meetings. I've been attending online classes for college. So I've been going through that for about the last year now. I'm training to be a project manager, and I should be certified by the end of spring, in which after that, then I'm going to be going for my associates. So, thank you. And I got to tell you, I was really hesitant because, I mean, I didn't want to bring it up. It's not nothing that has to do with CSEA or anything, but I have morals in me that when I leave, you know, I told Tony, I said, I hope the board doesn't, you know, look at it as disrespectful or anything. So I just wanted to address that with you guys because you guys are a great group of individuals. I love working here. I love coming to the board meetings and addressing it, but I've got homework to go do.
And go do it.
So anyways, that's the long and short of my report, and thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great news. Thank you, Chuck. All right. Now, item 7.1, comments and report from the student board representative, Callista. Callista, will you please share your report?
Sierra Elementary just completed its celebration of International Kindness Week, and we are gearing up to support Bucks for Blood Cancer. Our Sharks are working hard to meet their academic goals in Shark Shuffle. Staff is preparing students to finish the year strong and they are also starting a new math PDSA cycle after the February break. Sierra's PTC is holding their annual fundraiser at the Sierra Auction at Quarry Park Adventures on March 25th. Tickets are available for purchase on their website. Cobblestone is gearing up and excited about our up-and-coming school-wide dance show, Wild Things, on February 15th and 16th. On February 27th, students will get to choose to hear a story from a past teacher or a future teacher with their upper or lower grade buddy in our first Kindness Read-Around. Parker Whitney Talent Show auditions took place this week. Second grade is gearing up for the Rhythm and Music Show in a few weeks. Sixth grade is off to Sly Park for Science Camp next week. Springview had a Cupid dance on February 10th put together by their leadership class. March 2nd at 5:30 is our showcase night. We invite the community and especially our incoming 2023 and 2024 sixth graders to come back and check out our classes, activities, and clubs. At Rocklin Elementary, we are excited to report that we are having our first ever Family STEM Night on Thursday, February 16th. This is a free event for the Bulldog families. At Quarry Trail, students are excited to participate in the Fun Run on Friday, February 17th, sponsored by RPTC. Broncos have already raised over $30,000, and we are not even at the finish line yet. To honor Black History Month, students are learning about individuals who made a significant impact on American history. From Victory High and the Rocklin Alternative Education Center, on February 2nd, we hosted our annual career fair, coordinated by our amazing site counselor, Julie Kassler, representatives from various organizations, including Rocklin Police and Fire, Rocklin City, South Placer Rotary, Sierra College, and Relentless Rescue provided insight and inspiration into potential career college and vocational opportunities. A special thanks to Trustee Counter for taking the time out of your busy schedule to participate. Also, myself and other representatives of Victory High School student body recently participated in the LCAP Student Forum. A special thanks to Hannah Anderson, Director of Invitation and Innovation and School Programs, for facilitating this session, and Superintendent Stock and Associate Superintendent Flowers for your support. The Victory Interact Club is once again putting service before self by hosting our annual blood drive. As a reminder, every donation can save up to 3 lives, so please join us on Friday, this is a lot, March 10th from 9 to 2 in support of this incredibly important cause. Finally, Victory ASB received grants and funds to be able to provide our entire student population with our very first school shirts. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for all that awesome news. I know, I want to see your school shirt. Yay! Oh,
All right. Nice. That's
nice. Awesome. I want one.
Callista, we haven't had a chance to meet you. How long have you been at Victory? Awesome. And are you a senior? That is awesome. Well, you did a great job. It's a lot to read. Good job.
Yes, thank you. All right, now on to 7.2, comments from the board and superintendent. So trustees, would you like to share some comments?
Sure. So, thank you for those. Thank you, Mr. Hutton and the Victory staff. That was an amazing day. If you guys have not gone to, just to watch the interaction, the kids, they do mock interviews. They had a motivational speaker that comes up and speaks to them, a different class, and then just watching the kids go and interact. And a lot of times it's your first interaction of talking and handshaking and going through it. So amazing event. Thank you. Like it's a great thing. Keep doing that. That is amazing. And then, as I was saying to Mr. Flowers earlier, it's good to see from a winter sports perspective. We got multiple teams in multiple sports and in soccer and basketball going out and in the playoffs. So let's keep that moving as we go forward. So thank you.
Calissa, welcome to the team again. Thank you for your report. I have to say, you gave that report with such great energy. You got me excited as I was listening. So proud of our district and the phenomenal things. I started taking notes, but then I was like, man, I can't just point out one or two things you said. So great job sharing. Thank you for coming tonight and representing students. It's important to us that we have a student up here, and so I just want to always take a moment to say thank you and welcome to the team. I have to say, too, colleagues, it has been a fun last month, kind of out and about and seeing a lot of the great things going on. We have some students at Rocklin Elementary that did a little presentation together. They do a little robotics league, and I tell you, it just melts my heart. These are brilliant students, and I believe you said Rocklin Elementary is doing a STEM family night. If that's the case, I wasn't surprised, because these students on their own on every Sunday night, they spent a couple hours putting together these projects, and they competed in the first Lego League. And it's so sweet to see these students saying, I love school so much, I want to do it on Sunday nights too. It's parent-led, but I just thought, it was so sweet getting to kind of celebrate them and their achievement of participating. But as I was with them, the parents just kept saying how great the school staff is and how much they love their school. And they love Rocklin Elementary. And so if anybody from Rocklin Elementary is listening in, as a trustee, I know all of our campuses are phenomenal. I just wanted to do a little shout out, though, because I thought that was just such a sweet night. And then also, I recently took on a new role, actually in the assembly as a chief of staff for our newly elected assemblyman, Joe Patterson, and that's allowed me the opportunity to be out in our entire assembly district, and I have to tell you, the events I have been at in some of our neighboring cities, how highly they speak of Rocklin and Rocklin Unified, that has been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal to hear people ask what Rocklin is doing so well and to speak so highly of Rocklin. It's one thing when Rocklin people speak highly of Rocklin. It's another thing when other districts recognize the incredible work of our teachers and our staff. And so I just wanted to say kudos to all of our teams. It's not the work I'm doing, it's the work all of our teams are doing. A lot of times we get the accolade. I think it's important that trustees make sure we communicate that out to our entire community, how proud we are of Rocklin Unified.
It has been a busy month. I have a whole Post-it note of stuff, and I'm trying to narrow down what I want to share. I do want to share with you, I went to the Placer County Administrator of the Year dinner, and it was awesome to be there and to see, even though neither one of them are here, Matt Murphy won Human Resources Administrator of the Year, and Davis Stewart won Secondary Principal of the Year. And that was really cool to be a part of. And we just are grateful for their service in our district and all that they do. They are well loved, and it was great to see the support that they had. Also wanted to share, I am part of and contributing, hopefully, and working on our music meeting, and just really impressed with the work that Dr. McDonald is putting in, and we are making a lot of progress getting ready to make that a K-12 conversation so that we've got this vision that's going K through 6, and then we'll extend. And we're, I mentioned this last time, but it really is becoming more apparent we're ahead of the 8 ball on this, because we started this committee last spring, and wow, so glad we did, because now we've got these additional funds, and so the timing is really great on that. Also, Derek didn't mention Granite Oaks won the wrestling league last 2 weeks ago. That's right. A lot of great wrestlers from Rocklin, Springview, Whitney, and Granite Oaks that are qualified for the Tournament of Champions, coming up. So that's been my life as well. Last thing I wanted to share is just a note of appreciation for the study session that we had 2 weeks ago, or was it last week? Last week. Really rich conversation about math improvement and also student mental health, and eye-opening. I'm anxious to hear what we plan to do with that information, and really grateful for those here at the district office that put in a lot of work, and also for the students that came. That was a valuable learning night for all of us, so thank you.
Yeah, it definitely has been a busy few weeks at least. I have continued to go to sites and meet with principals on the different campuses, and it's been very enjoyable and informative. One of the notable things that has happened recently is I went to Rocklin Elementary when they were having their Friday morning assembly, and it's so fun because Principal Kay and the staff have really allowed it to be student-run, student-led, and they do an amazing job. And they had all of their roller coasters out on display because they're creating an amusement park, which is a fundraiser for a charity. It was very impressive. I also was able to go out to the Whitney and Rocklin basketball game. I saw a trustee counter out there and had to come to terms with the fact that one of my kids decided to wear a wildcat head outfit thing, and I'm like, okay, well. It was fine because as an alum of Rocklin, I said, okay, now we have a balanced group here, so it looks good. So that was very, very fun, lots of energy out there. They all did great. And then also just to talk a bit about the study session that we did have last week about the mental health and the math achievement. But really, for the mental health, Callista, you were there, right? I was so appreciative of the students who were willing to come and speak so candidly and honestly in front of a group of adults and school staff members. It was just so eye-opening, very appreciated, and I truly think that we learned a lot that we can draw from and make some kind of informed decisions on. And then to have the staff who were willing to come and talk, in targeted groups about elementary age, secondary age mental health and how that looks. Learned a lot about the new counseling support and how that's being utilized and how valuable staff and students are finding that was very encouraging. That's all I have.
Wow. There are a lot of things to say this month. It has been really busy. Luckily, a lot of it's already been said, so I will just move on to, I had a super day on the 13th where I started the morning at our transportation department, and I got to spend 2 hours riding a bus with Gary, who was amazing. And it was a lot of fun. And while I was on the bus, I got to talk to a lot of different students. And they wanted to give some shout outs. So what did I have? At Rocklin High School, there was a shout out for Miss Takla. And at Rocklin L, there was a shout out for Mr. Vanderkamp, who apparently is the funnest teacher ever. Too bad I didn't get to say it when he was here. But the transportation department had amazing people working there, and I didn't get a chance to meet everybody, but I did get to meet Matt and Liz at the front desk and Jackie at dispatch, who, if you haven't seen her office, you really should check it out. It's pretty cool. And then from there, I went on to Quarry Trail. And Melanie Patterson took me around to many different classes. I think we hit every grade level. And it was just incredible, all the great things that were going on in each classroom as we were going through so much learning and so much rich dialogue going on between the kids and the teachers and the assistants and the parent volunteers. The school was just hopping with people. And in fact, I went into Mrs. McDaniel's class, and a young man by the name of Mason wanted me to know that his teacher deserved a raise. And then from there, I partnered up with Charles Douglas, who took me to the Rocklin High School kitchen, where I met Chrissy Thurman, the lead in the kitchen, and her incredible staff. She has 7 people in there, and it was unbelievable what they could accomplish. They had to make 590 meals that they had to get out in 20 minutes. So they spend all day the day before prepping, and then all morning getting it ready and getting the hot food ready, and then they have 20 minutes to get it to 590 kids. It was incredible, and they were running. They were working so hard, and they were so cute. Like, they were dancing around each other and jumping around. They had music playing. It was awesome. And then I went over to the Sunset Ranch kitchen cafeteria and met Lisa DePinto, the lead there, and her second, Karen, and they were working super hard, and they knew the kids by name, and they were serving the kids and smiling, and the kids were interacting with them, and Karen was out at the register, I'll call it, and she was encouraging kids to try different things at the salad bar. It was really cool. You could tell they really cared about what they were doing and cared to get the kids doing the right things with their food. And then I went out to Granite Oaks Middle School, and Mr. Holmes, Jay Holmes, took me around to many, many classrooms. And again, it was just awesome to watch the teachers teaching and interacting with the kids. We did have, it was a funny time because it was a minimum day, so there was a lot of irregular things going on in the classrooms, but they were still having a good time and they were still learning. And I went into just one in particular, Miss Miller's Family and Consumer Science class, and the kids couldn't wait to tell me how excited they were about what they were doing and when they were going to start cooking and how they were sewing and the things that they were making. And they just loved Miss Miller, who had just gotten out of a boot on her ankle and was still jumping around and bouncing around and having a great time with the kids. It was a fantastic day. I wish I could do that once a week. It would be awesome. And I wish I could have gotten out to all of the schools, but it was great to get out to the ones that I did get out to, and just confirmed what I always see and what I know about Rocklin and our teachers and our schools and our principals, and how proud everyone is of the work that they do. And they should be, because they're doing really good things out at every campus. And Superintendent Stock.
Well, at the risk of, saying things that may have been said, I just want to point out a couple items. One is on the labor management work, following up on President Moget's comments, is that it was really been phenomenal. And I really give a ton of credit to our principals and our site reps who really picked up the opportunity. And I am just pleasantly surprised at how fast and how deep that the work is moving through. And I want to also, Travis mentioned that we gave them a positive problem to kind of work on together, but that really came from appreciation for the board for approving out of our one-time funds $125,000 that could to deepen the collaboration work. And so having those funds allowed us to then really turn these over to school teams to think about what ways they best could improve collaboration. So appreciation to the board for approving those funds and kind of reporting back on what's happened to that. And so we'll be excited to report back to the board as they work collaboratively to come up with their plans. And also just appreciation for President Moget and his team's leadership as well, because this really only happens when both of us are working together to make this happen. So a deep appreciation there as well. And then that sense of collaboration, which the labor management work is based on, really a goal of collaboration that our board has as well, is really, I see an evidence from the dais to the classroom. And we talk about, we've seen evidence of our students doing more collaborative work based on our teachers, labor management work you've heard about, but also our board today, if you didn't notice, on the first part of the agenda, spent from 8 to 3 in a study session on governance, which is really around our collaboration as a governance team and how we also can do that. So there's just a wonderful through line, again, from dais to classroom on work on collaboration. And also that marks for our board who all have day jobs, but gave up time at their day jobs to spend time here from 8 to 3 today. And that people in the public don't always see that, but that occurred. Also, a couple other items. If you didn't catch the Sacramento Bee, that was an update last week that I think also marks why Trustee Sadoff was hearing such good things about Rocklin. It's more evidence of that is reported in the Sacramento Bee. They did a analysis of the public high schools in the Placer, Yellow, Sacramento County and how many students go on to college within a year of graduation. And our district had the top ranking in that 82% of our students within a year of graduation go on to college. And that really shows the strength of our program from TK all the way through, because it just doesn't happen your senior year. I know the high schools may think so, but it doesn't. And so we're really proud that we really prepare students to take that next step in their lives. And so, and this was California Department of Education data, and I just think it's important it validates the good work that goes on and that has been going on for years to have that type of outcome. So we're very proud of that. And then also, in that note, registration's open. If you'd like to register your child for transitional kindergarten, or any grades, we are open for registration, and we encourage you to register. If you want that outstanding outcome for your child or your friend's child or your grandchild, send them our way. You can access that on our website, and we are happy to work with you related to that. That's all I have, President.
Thank you. Now on to item 8.1, action on consent agenda items. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine and will be enacted by one motion followed by a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the Board of Trustees, audience, or staff requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Any items removed will be voted upon following the motion to approve the consent calendar. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent calendar for separate discussion? Okay, is there a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved.
Okay, first by Trustee Price.
Second.
Second by...
He gave me the thumbs up.
All right. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Callista Zalaris.
Here.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes. Motion passes. He knows what's coming next.
Ready and waiting, ma'am.
Item 9.1, action on tentative agreement between Rocklin Unified School District and California School Employees Association, chapter number 773. Dr. Limoges.
Thank you, President Hubb. Good evening, trustees, Superintendent Stock, Ms. Georgia. I kind of feel like this is like Top Gun 2. We waited for many years. We've been talking about this for 2, and now finally it's here. So I'm going to present to you something you've been shared with multiple times. So the district in CSEA, chapter 773, originally sunshined during the spring of 2022. During the spring, both parties came to agreement on wages and benefits, and I think when I presented at that point in time, I shared that we also agreed to continue negotiations on contract items during the fall of 2023. The district in CSEA, Chapter 773, came to an agreement on 10 articles for amendment, and I want to just take you a second to just go, that's a lot of articles. And so a major shout out to Matt, who actually runs the table. I get to be a participant in this table, and the members of the district team, which is Matt and Jay Holmes, and obviously a huge shout out to Chuck and his team. And I'm so proud of Chuck for saying what he said, because he's just really a humble guy and really felt concerned that he was leaving early. And he didn't give a shameless plug for CSEA, which is one of the benefits they provide, really, is for their members, is really the opportunity and different programs available to pursue education at the collegiate level. So I'm so glad he said that. And other than that, I'm super proud of what the teams were able to accomplish. So what I'm asking this evening is recommending a motion to approve tentative agreement between Rocklin Unified School District and California School Employees, Chapter 773. Are there any board comments or questions?
Okay, is there a motion to approve the tentative agreement between Rocklin Unified School District and the California School Employees Association, Chapter 773?
So moved.
Okay, first by Price,
Second.
second by Counter. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Callista Zorales,
Yes.
Derek Counter,
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff,
Yes.
Rochelle Price,
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland,
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes, motion passes. Item 9.2, action on RUSD new high school courses for 2023-24. Mr. Flowers.
Good evening, President Hupp, Trustee, Superintendent Stock. Before I dive into my presentation, I just want to give a shout out because she was giving shout outs, but I appreciate Trustee Price. It was an honor having her there to see, especially Principal Stewart, but she went above and beyond that, and she actually was able to FaceTime with Principal Stewart's son in Alaska. It was great to see him, but it was even more meaningful for his granddaughter to see Grandpa receive an award. And at times, Principal Stewart can come off as a big, tough guy, but he's very sentimental, and I know that was really meaningful for his son and his granddaughter and daughter-in-law in Alaska to see that. So thank you for going above and beyond. So with that, I come before you tonight to talk about new course proposals for the 23-24 school year. Just a quick overview of the presentation. We'll talk a little bit about the process. We'll review those new course recommendations, and then we'll take next steps. As far as the process presented at the January 18th meeting, in that I presented the alignment to the Rocklin Unified Mission Statement, Strategic Plan, and LCAP. We also reviewed our Board Policy 6143. We reviewed the new course adoption process. We went over the new courses, and then we collected a little bit of input and took some questions. From that, just a little diagram here where tonight I come before you tonight in step 4. I'll be asking the board to take action on approving new courses, and if so, they will be moved forward in the academic planning guide, and then we'll take the next steps to ensure that they become A through G submissions. So with that, I wanted to take a second again to thank the teachers, not only the teachers, but also Beth Davidson and her staff, especially Amanda Bannister and Danielle Martling. If you recall, Ms. Martling, math teacher from Whitney High School, currently serving as a math coach, has really dove into data science, and people are very excited about that. This course will be offered at both schools, Rocklin and Whitney. The History Through Film is an elective that will only be offered at Rocklin High School, and again, if passed, they'll be in the academic planning guide, and students will be able to sign up for those. So with that, again, next steps, if approved tonight, they'll make that, they'll update that in the planning guide and move forward with that. So again, I come before you as an action item to ask the trustees to approve the new courses for the 2023-24 school year.
Trustees, any comments or questions?
Yeah. Just a quick question on the A through G. The history and film, is that the A category?
Yeah. I should know.
And then math, I know is C.
As an elective, I think it's more.
Oh, it's an elective. Okay, so it's not history; it's elective, and then
Correct.
math is the C because it's a math, or are they both electives?
Math will be a C because it's not elective. It's in lieu of integrated 3. Kids can take this, and that course has actually already been approved.
Okay.
Through A through G. So.
Good deal. And then the history through film becomes an elective.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Marty, and to staff, the teachers, Amanda Bannister, Beth Davidson. Clearly, in looking through these proposals, so much time and work and research went into them, and I think for us to be able to see such a comprehensive picture of what these courses will look like is really important. I made just a couple notes as far as the explorations in data science. I really think, especially after listening to the students last week, giving an alternative to IM3 that still fulfills the A through G requirement, which could be a barrier to some students, it's really great. Both of these courses just providing options that maybe will reduce TA periods, things like that, and find ways to engage students in more academically rigorous ways. With the U.S. history through film, Ryan Spears so nicely reached out to just see if there were any questions, and I was, happy to ask, because I think it may have been Trustee Counter last time. Well, is it just movies all the time? What's the rigor? And so wanted to kind of follow up on that and to learn that there is a movie per unit, but that those units do follow the literacy goals and the skills from the social studies department, and really kind of help to increase, critical thinking and looking at these pictures in time is also great. And it's an accessible elective so that even our students who have 504 plans or IEPs could sign up, and that could be something very beneficial to them. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Is there a motion to approve RUSD new high school courses for 2023-24?
So moved.
Okay, first by Trustee Sutherland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Price. Georgia, will you please call the roll?
Yes.
Derek Counter.
Yes.
Tiffany Sadoff.
Yes.
Rochelle Price.
Yes.
Michelle Sutherland.
Yes.
Julie Hupp.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Flowers. Now to item 10.1, mid-year update on the local control and accountability plan and RUSD math improvement progress. Hannah Anderson.
Thank you, President Hupp. Good evening again, trustees, Superintendent Stock. I am excited to be here tonight to share with you a mid-year update of the local control and accountability plan. This is in addition to the workshop that you heard about last week. So we know, I'll share about when we get there. How about that? Tonight, I'm going to share with you a review of educational partner input to date, a summary of that information. Also share with you an update on our implementation of our actions and the impact we're seeing so far. I'll also be sharing a review of our LCAP, including our mid-year progress towards goals, and then also discuss next steps in the timeline to refresh our LCAP. We are in, next year will be the third year of a 3-year plan. These are our goals that were approved by trustees last June, First being our math achievement and improvement goal, designed in a way to spark a continuous improvement in our district and encourage us to keep thinking and trialing in small-scale actions while also starting to scale up and get those actions in place across the district that we're seeing to be high leverage. We have a goal, too, around social, emotional, and behavioral supports. We heard from students last week, and I'll be able to share a little bit more of information that we have heard across the district, as well as our survey results. Thank you. I sent Mr. Flowers a message about this. Okay. Our third goal is everything else that makes our district run efficiently and effectively. It's really about monitoring and then enhancing in areas where we see we can make growth. And so this will be an area in our third year where we will want to look in and make sure, is there anything in that third goal that we need to adjust in this third year, or can everything in there stay in this place of maintenance where we're just making sure that it's running smoothly so we can stay focused in these other 2 areas? Over the course of the last 3 years, we've been working to bring alignment to our LCAP and make sure that it doesn't live outside of all of the great work that's happening in the district. So the goal is to make sure that what we do within our local control and accountability plan is embedded within the goals you all have set for the district and the goals that the staff has set for the district. So it also has then been able to start shifting the way we engage around our LCAP. So instead of just having LCAP engagement and things that inform a lot of different areas across the district, we've been able to redesign the way that we engage with our community partners and gather their input around what they want to see for their students' education. We've been able to ask students very specifically when we're engaging in the student forums, what helps you learn math? Where are areas that are challenging for you? And most specifically, we have been able to, through the shift in the board workshops, we've been able to hear from teachers in the field, from students, from our staff members, how these goals are impacting the work that they're doing in their classrooms. So instead, again, of it being the standalone pieces of gathering information that then informs a plan, it really is, the plan is just alongside this great work that's happening. We engage all throughout the year, as I just shared, and these are the variety of ways that we engage with our students, our families. There are some up here that we are required to do, and there are others up here that we choose to do because they truly help inform the process that we have in the district. I want to call out two that have been added in recent years, one being that math steering committee and continuing to ensure that our math educators are helping be influential in the process of their math improvement goal. The second being the Homeless and Foster Youth Advisory Committee and hearing from practitioners in the field as well as local resource or foster parents about what works for them and what they need for their students. So really ensuring that we're hearing the voices of the students that we're trying to serve within this plan. So input that we have gathered to date, in addition to the Math Steering Committee, we, in January, were able to hear from over 1,000 parents in response to our LCAP survey, as well as almost 300 staff members. Although a slight decrease from what we've seen in previous years, this doesn't surprise me in a year where we're going into refreshing, right? We're not writing a new plan. Next year, we'll be looking for a lot more input on our surveys than this, and we'll really reach out and target to make sure that we hit those markers. We also continued to align questions within the survey around our state and local priorities that are spoken to in the LCAP, and we continue to ask questions in a budget supplement so that we can gather information about where our community's priorities are and where our staff's priorities are when entering into budget development. I had the amazing opportunity of listening to students, not only at the workshop last week, but also at 3 student forums. I got to listen to Callista speak twice, actually, and I'm really grateful for the influence and the impact that our students have and the insights they have on what they need in their educational lives and what they need for social emotional connections to school. So it was, that's I think one of the most fun parts of my work, getting to listen to students and hear from them. We'll talk a little bit about what they had to say in a bit. And we also had our California Healthy Kids survey in December, and then again, although we don't call them LCAP board workshops, each time we come and have an engaging board workshop, it is along the goals that are approved in this plan. This year we have an increased focus on 5 action areas. There are many different actions in our LCAP. All of them are moving forward and we're making efforts in each area. So we also, though, know that in order to focus and align our work, we can't be going full steam ahead on every single action every single year. We need to make sure that we're focusing in on a couple of areas, and through your alignment of the LCAP and really focusing on 2 goals, this has helped us be able to then focus further on which actions are going to get the increased amount of support. A new one I'm highlighting for you on here this year is the work that our coordinator of English language development, Sarah Soares, is doing for our English learners, specifically our newcomers, and I'll speak more to that towards the end of the presentation. Goal 1 was the highlight of the second portion of our workshop last week. In addition to what you heard from Director Davidson, just to recap that, we have provided this year Tier 1 professional development to all elementary teachers to work on building that culture of numeracy and embedding number talks and mental math. So this is an example of, there are a lot of small trials happening throughout the district of areas where we're working to grow. There are other areas where we're seeing that we can leverage high leverage practices and implement those across the district, and we don't need to wait to do that work. Another space, and you heard about all of these PDSA cycles that are happening across the district, and then we continue to have work in our intervention structure, K-12. Goal 2 for social, emotional, and behavioral supports, we have district and site-based committees working on integrating social emotional learning into TK-12 education. So we know, and we heard from students, a standalone education in a curriculum is possibly one element that we need. It isn't the only element that's needed, right? We also know that we have work to do, and we're hearing from our students especially at the secondary level, when we receive that curriculum, we may not be receiving it in the safest of spaces or in a way that allows us to feel comfortable sharing. So that's something that we still have to do reflection on the input that we've received from students. We won't be the sole decision makers on how to make change in that area. So that's a next step for us, is thinking about, for some students, getting the curriculum is really important. Right? And they're receiving it in a way that does work for them. At the elementary level, we're hearing we need this standalone curriculum, and we need a few other pieces, including skills-based learning in these areas. We need that expanded. At the secondary level, we're hearing something a little bit different. Right? We need to receive it in a space where we can be safe enough to share. Right? And we also need to have it embedded. How do we embed resiliency factors and things that help us gain perspective in other places besides just a social emotional curriculum? So that's what that integration piece is. We've also trained all principals and our teacher leaders in the K-8 world around the integration of positive behavior interventions and supports and social emotional learning. So when we're thinking about PBIS, it really is about developing a positive pro-social school culture. Right? What does it mean to be a bulldog? I know exactly what it means to be a bulldog, and I know how to be at school and be successful. And that's about my behavior, but that's also about what do I do with my big feelings when I have them.
Can I interrupt you, or would you
Please.
rather have questions at the end? So were all of our sites doing PBIS, or just?
All of our elementary sites, both of our middle school sites and Victory High School.
Okay, they were already doing them.
Yes.
Okay. So you're just doing additional training with this? All right, I just wanted to be sure we had it on every site.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's providing training for them so that it's not a separate PBIS implementation and we're adding to the plate and saying it's an SEL mental health implementation. It's saying, how do we integrate these and bring that work together so that students aren't receiving 2 messages, staff isn't receiving 2 messages, and it's not twice the work.
Do we have some sites that are already doing that and doing it well, that are sharing?
Yes, actually, we just released in January for our PBIS SEL day. It was the elementary focused one, and it was actually co-presented by 3 of our principals who are implementing different elements of work at their school sites. And so the principals and the leads at those 3 schools, they're on our district leadership team for PBIS as well. They co-planned that agenda with Principal Makis's leadership, co-planned that agenda, and all 3 of those principals shared in the implementation or the delivering of that information to colleagues, and they were highlighting the best practices from their schools, and their site leads were sharing as well.
Love it.
It was
I
great.
know Rocklin Elementary, really excels with that, and she's anxious to share. And I think there's such power in hearing it from a colleague, right? It's not somebody outside that we bring, to teach us. We have someone that's an expert here, and they can share their enthusiasm for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the lead for Rocklin Elementary's Tier 2 team, Jeremy Miller, was here last week and shared at the study session, and he was talking about how powerful it is to bring social emotional learning into the Tier 2 interventions and the work that they're doing in that world at Rocklin L as well. So
Great.
very exciting work happening. We also have been working to implement social skills groups and one-on-one counseling at all sites, K-12, and have increased the mental health services at Victory High School, and heard from students that is someone at their campus that they know how to access and can access when they need them. So that's been a barrier previously, is we have staff at Victory High School, but we also know that we have students with some of the highest levels of mental health needs on that campus, and we want to make sure that it doesn't matter which day of the week they need someone to support them, someone is there to support them, no matter what day of the week it is.
Can I ask a question now? Quick question on that. Thank you for your great work on this. The implemented Tier 2, Tier 3 social emotional groups, are we running those with staff or are those contracted out?
So the Tier 2 and Tier 3 social emotional groups are run at the elementary level by our counselors or by instructional assistants who have received training in an SEL curriculum. And we also have those being run at the secondary level by either mental health specialists, school psychologists, or counselors. All internal staff for the groups. The one-on-one at the secondary level is through Wellness Together, 7 through 12.
With the PBIS, it's not implemented at Rocklin and Whitney High then, right?
Correct.
Is there a plan to introduce it at those sites?
One of the things that's really important with PBIS is that it comes from the staff as something that's really valuable and important to build a framework around behavior. One of the slides I'll share in a minute is around making sure that all staff on campus know what the resources are for students. And ultimately, PBIS is a framework, right? And it will help us think about what are the universal expectations that all students can have, what are the interventions that students who need extra supports can access, and what are those individualized supports, right, that can be accessed by a few students on campus. At this time, there aren't plans to implement PBIS at our high school levels, but it is an option that is available to our high schools, and they have there have been elements, I would say, of PBIS implemented, but not saying we've implemented all of Tier 1, all of Tier 2, and all of Tier 3. It's a lot heavier of a lift to do on a high school campus because it's a shift with teenagers that's more challenging to do, but a lot of the teenagers we have at the high school now have had this in their previous years. One of the things that we do each December is have our students in grades 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11, and all of our students at Victory High School participate in the California Healthy Kids Survey. This allows us to see trends of how students are experiencing our schools and how their wellness and resiliency factors are being experienced, and their perception of how they're feeling while at school and while not at school. And it's one of the areas that we're tracking in our LCAP to identify, are we making growth on some more standardized measures in these areas, right? We definitely also want to hear qualitative information from our students, right, about how they're experiencing school, and that's why we don't want to just do a survey in isolation of also listening to students. But when we do take a survey, it does allow us to look in at our schools and look, are our boys experiencing our schools in the same way as our girls? Are our students across multiple races and ethnicities experiencing our schools the same way? Are students having higher levels of adversity based on maybe something they believe in or something, a way that they look? So it's important for us to look at all different student groups and identify, do we see any gap areas? Do we see any areas where students don't seem to be as socially well or experience in our schools in a positive way as other groups? So I share our 9th graders here from our December data to say we do continue to have higher rates of sadness and also students considering self-harm in our Hispanic population. We saw this trend starting a few years ago. It's something that we definitely are looking out for and wanting to make sure that we have areas where students can feel connected to campus, right? Because the connection is lower for this group of students. So I just bring that to your attention as an example of a space that we look in and see, Are all of our students feeling connected at that same rate? Are all of our students experiencing safety? Interestingly, many of our students, right, experience safety at similar levels, right? And although some of our students, specifically our Hispanic or Latinx students, do have lower rates of optimism and higher rates of the consideration of self-harm, twice as much as some of our other student groups.
And you said those are only Victory freshmen?
I'm sorry, these are all of our 9th grade students.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, at Victory High School, included in the attachment, we do see that students at Victory High School do have higher rates of sadness than students at our other sites. We also, though, see some of the highest rates of connection to school at Victory High School, and the students share celebrate and share that with resounding voice, that they feel connected to their campus. We are also seeing a lot of our resiliency rates of students increase on the local measures that Mr. Hutton provides to his students, so that once they're there, we can track and see how are they doing over time in this differently supported environment. Okay. We also, in Goal 2, track a staff survey and are asking staff, do they feel like there are supports available to all students, to some students who need extra supports, and to few students who need individualized supports? That's what MTSS is. And so we ask our staff each year on the staff survey, do you feel like you have this at your school for behavior? And do you feel like you have this for mental health? A few years ago, our mental health, social emotional wellness, those indicators were relatively low. Those have increased and are staying steadily increased. Would we, of course, like to continue to see and make sure that we've got 90% of our staff feeling that there's enough resources for students? Absolutely. But we do know that we've had a steady increase here, a slight dip this year, but we also had a different number of staff take the survey. In the area of behavior, to speak to the question asked earlier, we are seeing staff indicate that they don't agree, or if only 55% agree that there is a strongly agree or agree that there is a system of supports for students in the area of behavior at our secondary schools. I think most important to be noted here is that in the area of behavior, our staff, our secondary staffs are very large, right? And they include many students or many staff members who are doing a varied amount of jobs, right? Who all have access to this survey. So it might make a perception like, gosh, our secondary staff doesn't know the supports that are available. It might also be a different staff member or type, right? And so we think that it's important for all staff to know what's available for students. So it gives us opportunities by collecting this data to know how can we better inform our staff about what the supports are for students, so that if a student reaches out to them for help, they know how to direct them appropriately. Because there are a lot of great things happening on our secondary schools, many supports available for students that we want to make sure all of our staff know about.
Is the survey broken down at all other than just staff?
We do have the opportunity to say, what do our certificated staff see, and what do our classified staff see?
You know, an interesting point, though, you don't see as much of a dip on the social emotional wellness supports as you do on the behavior. I do think that's an interesting point to look at, because if the dip was in part due to varied staff, varied positions that maybe aren't aware, it's interesting that those aren't consistent with one another, that the behavior takes a much greater dip percentage-wise as the social emotional wellness, which I know we've done a lot of work in the social emotional wellness, and I think this is showing that. I mean, I'd like to still see those numbers obviously increase, but I do find it interesting. I think that's an important thing to look at and maybe try to understand a little bit more of what kind of supports we could maybe provide more for staff in the area of behavior in specific, separate from social emotional. Although we know they'll interact and affect one another, I do find that interesting that it disaggregated out quite a bigger dip.
In our parent guardian survey, the indicator that we ask are related to goal 2 is about school safety. We continue to have incredibly high rates of parents expressing that they feel their child is safe on our campuses, higher at our elementary sites than our secondary sites, but still a resounding, it's been this way for many years, and people continue to feel confident in sending their students to our schools.
Interesting, the gap between that feedback and then the student feedback as far as feeling safe, right? So it's, as a parent, there's a different perspective than students. I'm just gross average.
Sure. I will say in the student forums, the 3 student forums, we do hear this question on the survey really lends itself to physical safety. And in the student forums, we have the students answer a question about safety, and they do, when they're talking about physical safety, students feel safe on our campuses. Yeah.
Similar feedback with the kids.
Yes.
Mr. Hutton brought that up, that, it's not violence and guns and anything horrible, it's other stuff. So
absolutely.
Good.
In the area of goal 3, many different actions are taking place. So to highlight just a few, our MTSS team and Dr. McDonald are leading a foundational skills work group to evaluate and revise early literacy assessments and eventually instructional materials in grades K through 2 to address our struggling readers. We also this year engaged in a back-to-school fair for our unduplicated pupils, our socioeconomic disadvantaged students, including our students living in homelessness, our foster youth, and our English learner families, to come together and receive school supplies. I think I came and shared with you, it was just this amazing opportunity for the community to come together and for students to have agency to come and pick out materials and receive all of the supplies they needed to go back to school, as well as, deodorant and shampoo and a Chromebook, and help filling out that really complex registration data confirmation piece. A lot that goes into starting school that can be very stressful, and to just have the opportunity to decrease that for families was really, it was a heartening experience. I'll give a shout out to Georgia because she was a huge part of that. This year, I'll share on the next slide, we've had an increase in our English learner students as well as our students new to the country and new to English. And so we have needed to respond, and as shared previously, Sarah Soares and her team have done an exemplary job trying different programs. We have work to do in this area, and we know we have work to do in this area, as do many districts in our same position. We launched a newcomer English learner pilot program at Rock Creek Elementary, and we have also increased staff to serve students K through 12. We also this year have implemented parent-guardian outreach through family liaisons. So utilizing our bilingual instructional assistants, having them do weekly check-ins with our newcomer families, establishing welcome meetings for families where they can actually sit with a bilingual liaison when you come to Whitney High School and receive help in picking classes and navigating the complexities that come with registering and starting a new school when you're entirely new to the country and maybe didn't want to leave your last country. And then we also have been implementing credit recovery programs in our comprehensive high schools. So this slide just shares the necessity of those the renewed and revisited English learner services that we are offering. You can see that over the last 5 years, we have had a steady increase of English learner students in the district. This number grows every day. And we also have this chart on the right shows the number of newcomer students who are also new to English and new to the country within the last 12 months. We have gone from having 46 students on average for a long time in the district to this year having 111 when this slideshow was put together in the middle of January, and we receive about 5 students a week. So there's more students who are coming with a higher level of need Our schools are doing a phenomenal job wrapping around these students. Our principals are doing a phenomenal job. Our teachers are reaching towards every resource they can and sharing collaboratively with each other. The number one priority is ensure that students come and feel safe in our schools.
The student mix there, is it an even spread between K and 12, or is it?
We are seeing students mostly at the upper high school end and in the elementary grades. Yeah, so we haven't received as many students in the middle schools.
And what about more from a country or an area?
The top 3 areas we are receiving, or the top 3 languages spoken of students coming are Russian, Ukrainian, and Spanish.
And so do we have Russian and Ukrainian helpers, volunteers?
Yes,
okay,
we
awesome.
do. Our English language learner team has been able to do outreach, working with partnerships with Sierra College, working with families new to the area.
Yeah.
We actually at Rocklin High School recently hired as a bilingual instructional assistant a previous English learner who worked, who actually went through our high schools and then now is here as an employee. He's doing phenomenal work with our Spanish-speaking students and Mrs. Takla, who got a shout-out earlier.
Awesome.
So we also have at Whitney High School our instructional, where we've been concentrating many of our Ukrainian-speaking families so that they can build collegiality, camaraderie with students, and also we can focus programming for particular student groups at individual school sites. The instructional aide there was a former math teacher in the Ukraine, and so she has been really influential with supporting our English learners there in math. Our elementary school bilingual liaison works primarily at Rock Creek, serving the focused group of newcomers we have there in the pilot program and running those weekly meetings. And she speaks Ukrainian and also can speak and translate in Russian.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing.
So Sarah Soares and her team are working hard and also working hard to collaborate with our teachers and our labor partners, specifically Emily at Whitney High School, to think about how can we do this together? How can we make sure that we're wrapping around students new to the country together and keep everybody in the loop? Okay? More always can be done in this area. So just move through these last pieces quickly. This is focusing on our English language arts, which is inside of Goal 3. We have seen a stabilization of the achievement markers in English language arts. We know that this potentially could have taken a dip, right? It didn't, but we aren't seeing necessarily growth in this area, but I included this here because I also want to draw attention to the group of students we've been talking about on the previous 2 slides. This particular EL in the growth marker here, so this column that says EL, this does not include students who have been reclassified. So this includes students who are current English learner students who are meeting their growth targets at above or about the same rate as our all-student group, which I just think is phenomenal to celebrate that work that our teachers are doing and our students are doing to learn English, and also meet a growth target on an English language arts assessment. Pretty exciting. This is the progress on our A through G indicator. We continue to make progress in this area. We have exceeded our target outcome, so this is a celebration to be had. We've been able to leverage our A through G grant that we received from the state last year and invest it in both our math improvement effort to implement more everyday math courses, we talked about that, and also to implement credit recovery courses. I will say we have seen some dips. When we have, you'll see a few areas where data isn't shown. Those are with student groups that have less than 10 students. And when you have student groups that are less than 30 students, even a change of 4 to 5 students missing or not meeting those indicators will drastically change a percentage. So we're working towards all of our student groups meeting A through G, utilizing our data tool, EduClimber. We can have been able to pull great reports and really hone in and target. I anticipate with the new math course approved tonight, we will make significant strides in this area, because that is the number 1 and/or 2 reason. It's either world language or integrated 3, where the majority of students miss reaching A through G by just 1 course. So this is, that will be a significant bump to this, so thank you. Okay, and our students' emerging themes have been that they express high levels of connection to adults on our campuses. That is resounding, even though we don't see those exact numbers in the California Healthy Kids, right? When we talk to kids from a broad group, we hear that they are connected.
I have a comment about that. You know, as we were sitting there listening to those kids, and we were so grateful for all of the years of work towards bullying and safety, it wasn't mentioned, right? And so I'm hopeful that as we hear these kids and the sadness that they're suffering with, that this work of them connecting to campus pays off, right? And that we then, I'm sure we'll transition to something else, but hopefully that work will actually show results as well.
We agree.
Yeah.
We are hearing from students that they feel high levels of physical safety. We're hearing that they have limited opportunity to connect outside of their friend group. And we heard a little bit of this last week. They would like more opportunities to connect with each other, and they want the staff's help with that. They want the schools to help facilitate non-academic settings where they can connect with each other. And in some cases, academic settings, project-based things where they can hands-on together.
Can I interrupt you one more time? I'm so sorry. I just realized it was only, I think, Derek and I sitting in the secondary circle. I think the other 3 of you were in the elementary circle. And something that the CEO of Wellness Together shared, Marlon, was and I had him send it to me, so I'll send it to you guys. Did you guys hear it? Am I already repeating it? Oh, okay, good. Okay, Tiffany's nodding, and I'm like, oh no, I'm repeating myself. He shared that some teachers that had taught 25 years ago, their problem was 5 minutes before a class started was that they had to get kids to be quiet, right? It was so loud. And then teachers nowadays, 5 minutes beforehand, are trying to get kids to talk. And that says so much, right? And how can we help with that? I was so glad that that was brought up, because it's interesting, you know, it's shifted and it's changed, and that kids are looking for us to help them. So good.
Absolutely. Can I comment along with that? Because I was really intrigued by that, because that was a very interesting, and I wasn't surprised by it, unfortunately. But when the students sat in this circle, and although it was a small selected group of students, it was interesting. I heard multiple students, and I wrote down that day, that said, I don't want to be the one to have to start the conversation, but if a staff member could help me, I'll participate. And it was interesting as we were kind of talking about safe spaces and safety. Again, we weren't hearing physical safety concerns. We were hearing students say, I'm embarrassed to share about myself in front of a friend. I'm also embarrassed to share about myself in front of a stranger. But or I'm embarrassed to just talk to I don't know how. And that was, you know, it was a little disheartening to hear students say, but if a teacher got us started and made us, I would probably then participate. And I just found that so interesting that, you know, and that they acknowledged that, though, and said kind of like, please don't make me be the one to have to introduce myself to somebody or to like put my phone down. But if you told all of us to at the same time, we actually would probably want to do it. And I just thought, oh, I'm going home to my teenage daughter and trying that and seeing if it works.
Well, and I wanted to that point, I think it was just slightly brought up in that group during the circle time, was a homeroom at Rocklin High. And it was a positive comment from the student that did bring it up, but I'm wondering if we could learn more about how that homeroom time is playing out and how the teachers are utilizing that, and do they see more of that conversing that maybe we're looking for and that maybe students are looking for as well, and how is that happening, and is that something we could use to draw conclusions from?
I think we can share and provide that, bring that back to you. And I do think that they've had some trials and tribulations with the homeroom, as well as students experiencing it in different ways, right? We did hear from students last week saying, you know, sometimes I don't feel safe talking about this, right, in this group, even though there was a great, well-intentioned program put together to create space for students to talk about it, you know, so it's they asked for it, and then we didn't do it right. So, you know, there's growing pains and adjusting, but we can definitely bring back and provide more information on that.
And we're not through those kids that were in COVID years that were at home. We're not, those kids are still in school, right? And so they're still transitioning, and there's, you know, consequences from that.
So this piece did not come up in the forum last week, but it did come up across the district, and so it's interesting that it's actually called out in the secondary group of we didn't hear bullying, because we did hear some instances of negative peer interactions, not so much pervasive bullying, but a lot of instances of negative peer interaction in a walk-by sort of way, and a necessity to say something to someone or by someone just for whatever reason, right? And so that is happening, and the students were insightful in saying they have a desire for adults to interrupt or respond when they see that student-to-student negative interaction, and they want to have more adults who stand by and interrupt it. And we have heard that from students across the district for years, that it's an opportunity for adults to step in and say, and so that gives us an opportunity to say, how can we equip our staff, right, with the tools to interrupt? And we've done that through the stand-up, speak-up strategies, I think, and more opportunities, I think, to bring that back. Sorry.
It's awesome that they're asking for tools, right? That's a good thing.
It is. The students this year were very insightful at naming their solutions.
Yeah. And I love how specific they were. It's good.
Yeah. And the last piece is just an appreciation, specifically at Rocklin High School, Springview, and Victory, where we were. This appreciation for accessibility of teachers, and at Rocklin High in this area of math, and a desire to have more opportunities to receive help. The budget addendum that was attached shared again that well-rounded educational experience for students remains that top priority. This year, for the first time since we have given this budget addendum, the staff responses and the parent-guardian responses, their top fives were exactly the same, which was pretty exciting to see. So the top five rounded out, not all in the exact same order, but that academic interventions, art and music programs, smaller class size, social emotional mental health supports, and classroom technology made the top 5 lists for both, and the attachment has the orders.
So quick question on that. Please. Classroom technology, how is that worded in the survey? Is that they're wanting more accessibility for students, less dependence upon them bringing items from home? Or just the general gist? I hate to make you have to look it up.
It's listed as one of the options that they can choose.
Okay.
And so it says up-to-date technology in classrooms and its use in our schools.
Because I'm wondering, is it that they feel we need more equipment, or are we relying on them having to provide too much equipment?
There are some additional questions around, does your child have access to the internet? Do they have access to a computer? And actually, the district, and under Ryan Johnson's leadership, our Chief Technology Officer, we've taken significant advantage of a federal program, the ECF program. Hopefully you've heard about it, where really any student that needs a Chromebook, just says we need one, can have one. And it's paid for by our tax dollars, but we have that access. And we've been able to leverage over $2 million worth of Chromebooks into students, which means that we don't have to ask the board to spend other dollars from our general fund for that. And so there's been such a wide availability that we've worked through that we really feel we've almost hit saturation, to where in our secondary schools, this year, next year, going on, every student has a Chromebook. We want you to check one out. You need to check one out, or you can't do school here. So we also, with that, there's abilities to have access to the internet if you're home. If you needed access, that's provided. So we continue to see the data show that there's a high saturation of accessibility at home and at the school. And so some of the things we're wondering is this data telling us, like, we want to make sure it's competitive advantage, it's updated, because we all know that at least my kids tell me they need a new phone every 6 weeks, right? Because it's, type of thing, and even though they're working off like iPhone 5s. So that's where we wonder, is it that competitive piece staying up versus the general access?
Next steps in our process, we'll be continuing to implement actions for the remainder of this year. We'll be working to update our needs assessment. So we just gathered all of this data, so now it's time to think about it across multiple groups. Look for trends that we see across all of the different pieces of information that we take in, and also look at it against our new recent California dashboard release, and where are we seeing academic indicators that we may need to have more attention paid to in addition to the perception data. We'll also utilize feedback data from our advisory committees and have this inform our LCAP development process. We will be reviewing our revised goals and draft actions with proposed expenditures in April or May with these groups, and then reviewing local indicators with trustees in the beginning of June, holding our public hearing, and coming to you for approval in June with all of the other 3 pieces of the LCAP listed there. And with that, are there any other questions? Thank you.
Not necessarily a question, but just an appreciation. I know how important LCAP is, and for us as trustees to know, what are the goals of the district, what are our focuses. And I really appreciated the slide 7 of us knowing what's our increased focus, right? There's a plethora of things we need to do and can do and should do, but I really appreciate being able to see, hey, these are really the 5 actions we're looking at that we really need to put our effort towards. And I really appreciate making sure our students know how to read, write, and do math. Like these are critical components for them. And so I appreciate that those met the top 5, because those are critical. Thank you.
Go ahead. Sorry. For parents that may want to be involved, is there a call for committee members?
Yes, we will be sending out our email soon and are looking for committee members to participate in this year's review and refresh process. So this year we'll be looking at this LCAP and reviewing it, right, and updating any pieces. Next year we'll be going through a potential rewrite process,
right.
keeping actions and goals around that we want to continue, right? But next year will be that rewrite. So it'll be really important to get a great collaborative team. We certainly want to see new participants this year, and we'll be eager to have folks come along who have participated in past years so that we can have that cohesion of making sure that the goals and work that has been taking place continues.
Yeah, and I would encourage, as someone who's participated in that several times, there is a little bit of a learning curve. And so if anyone's listening and thinking they might be interested doing it this year when it's a continuation of an existing, would be a good intro to then continue on next time when it's a brand new one. Yes, for sure.
Good advice.
And trustees, you have all those dates here in this presentation and previously sent to you in case you have an interest in attending, and we'll be happy to get you specific times and locations as well. We have both, not just a parent, but also a staff one as well. And we do parallel work in both those committees that Ms. Anderson leads.
Great. Thanks for all your work.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you.
All right, next is item 10.2, science adoption, grades 3 through 5, process and recommendation. Dr. McDonald.
Okay, good evening again, Board of Trustees, President Hupp, Superintendent Stock. It's always my pleasure to be in the anchor position to bring us home at the witching hour. I am very excited tonight to bring you a recommendation for K-5 science curriculum adoption. As a former elementary science teacher, my very first job was opening up an elementary charter science school in Los Angeles Unified. This is an area of passion for me. And as such, I can't resist the opportunity before we get into the actual presentation to ground you in the next generation science standards. So I'm going to show you something phenomenal. And in the words of one of my favorite science fiction writers, Kurt Vonnegut, he said, "Science is magic that works." And I'm going to show you some magic, and that's our goal with this adoption, is to connect students to a little science magic. So that being said, I'm going to have you watch a very short video. Pay attention and think of what you notice or questions. Jot down a couple things. Hopefully, Mr. Counter, your wife is watching and she's going to be proud of you. No pressure, but we will see what we get here. Okay, so here is our short phenomena, and it's about to start over. So you get a little shot of the end, and we are going to go here. Okay, so any thoughts, noticings, wonderings about that, what you saw in that picture?
Are we supposed to say what we think happened?
You can give me anything. This is an open inquiry, so go ahead.
I know, it's like, what grade level is this?
College.
Right, so the flame, it uses up all the air, and so then it's pulling up the liquid, right, to fill that space?
Okay, so the air is going away. We're getting a pull into the glass. Excellent, great observation. Interesting. Any other questions or thoughts?
Oh, I just think kids would love it.
Kids
I mean,
do love
it's a little bit, it looks like a little bit of magic. I think they'd love it.
It is magic. So really, you could get into fluid dynamics here. You could get into properties of fire, how oxygen is used by fire. The main thing talking about here is air pressure. Air pressure inside the glass is decreased. And it looks like the water is sucked up. It's actually the atmosphere pushing down on the water that pushes it up into the cup, because you have higher air pressure and lower air pressure. So there's a lot here. Air pressure, of course, is not just for your tires on the way to work. It's how weather systems work. So the next generation science standards is all about grounding children in actual phenomena like this, having them ask questions, put their questions up on a board, making sure they actually have a connection to real science and they're thinking like scientists and they're engaged in the content. So as we look at this new adoption with NGSS standards, this is the kind of activities we can look forward to our students kind of pondering and working through.
Is this a demonstration of something that they would be doing in class, or would they be watching the video?
So they would do both. The teacher can do the demonstration, or they can watch phenomena on video. Depends on how complex it is or if it's something we can replicate. But the idea is that they get to actually experience the science, think about it, and then learn about it. Like, how does this actually work? So it's a way to drive their engagement.
Following up on that, how tactile is the learning? Are we actually doing the experiment, or are we watching the experiment?
One of the reasons I will propose the adopted curriculum that we're looking at is because there is lots of hands-on science. We're actually doing a lot of science, a lot of experiment-driven learning rather than reading it out of a book. So limited textbook, really hands-on focused, experimental focus, which is how students learn science best. Okay, so getting into what we'll learn today, curriculum adoption process, really brief overview background. I'm going to talk about our K-5 Science Adoption Committee work that's been operating for quite a while. I'm going to share recommendations. We're going to talk about the public review process, which is an important step. Next steps after that, and then if it is approved by the board, what we would do in terms of implementation and training. So briefly, the state of California, as you know, has standards in each content area, and those aren't changed very regularly. You remember we did Common Core standards about 10 years ago. We actually did next generation science standards, new science standards back in 2016. So once the state has standards, then they'll create frameworks for each curricular area. So a math framework or a social studies framework. In this case, a science framework was created in 2018. Following that, curriculum companies say, oh, we have the standards, we have the framework, now we can build curriculum that aligns to the district standards, and then once those are completed, they can get those on the state adopted list. If they meet the standards, the frameworks, the state laws, they go on that list, then districts can look at that list and say, we want to look at these curriculum, we may want to pilot some of them, and we may want to adopt some of them. So districts follow a similar kind of 6 to 8 year adoption pattern. Often we adopt a math or ELA or science curriculum for 6 to 8 years, and then we repeat the process. In the case of science, which I'm going to get into next, I said 2016 was the framework. Then we put a committee together in 2019. It was a K-5 science adoption committee. It was created to look at science curriculum that was newly created. It had 24 members. There was K-5 science teachers, there was instructional coaches, there was elementary principals, and district office administrators. The other piece I skipped over briefly there was that all of this is aligned, of course, with the state assessment, the CAST, which assesses science in 5th grade, 8th grade, and again in 12th grade. So we started back in 2019, and here's what that committee did. They first had to be grounded in these next generation science standards. So there was 2 days of professional development just around NGSS and what the shifts are, because the new standards are actually quite different than our old standards. Then we worked with the county to be trained on the adoption process and toolkit, which is very extensive. Placer County proposed that we do 8 days of training with 24 teachers. And knowing that we have exceptional teachers and people on our committee, we said, I think we'll do 2. And so we did 2, and we were able to condense that process quite extensively and still get a lot of value out of it. So we actually did 4 days of training, the 2 adoption process, and then the 2 NGSS training at William Jessup University in their library. So the county went there with their trainers, we went there with our team. What's great about William Jessup is they, as soon as a curriculum piece is on the state adoption list, they get it for their library, and it's there for any local district to come and view and explore and look at. So they're a repository for all our curriculum adoptions. And they let us do our research there, they let us do our training there, so it's a great resource. So we did 4 days of training, and after that training, we got into the actual adoption process. So that involved taking a massive rubric that looked at probably 12 different areas, some of them NGSS standards. What is the student experience? How is it organized? What's the assessment? Is there equity for students like English language learners? If I'm a teacher, is this a good way for instructional planning? What does the technology piece look like? And you actually rate in every one of these boxes a score like from 1 to 5 as you review curriculum. Our team of 24 reviewed 8 different curricula over 3 days. And at the end of that, we had scores for those 8 curricula, and we talked and discussed and pros and cons, and we narrowed it down to 2. So we narrowed it down to Amplify Science Curriculum and Discovery Education Science Curriculum. Both of those our team felt was worth piloting in the classroom. And that's the next phase, is each of those curricula now is going to be piloted in actual classrooms and taught to students for 6 to 8 weeks. So we started with Discovery, we did that for 6 to 8 weeks, and then after that we did Amplify for 6 to 8 weeks. And during that pilot period, you also evaluate in your classroom with another rubric, is this working? Students actually give input on the curriculum, does this work for us? Are we engaged? Are we learning? You look at assessment results, and at the end of that you come together and say, I think we vote, this is the final decision. What was interesting about our committee is in the paper screening, the committee very much liked Discovery Education. Thought it was a great curriculum. Once they actually taught in the classroom, unanimously they preferred Amplify Science across the board. So they did a 180 on what they, and that's why we pilot, because sometimes what looks good on paper isn't so good in the classroom. So that comes to the recommendation of the original committee, which was to unanimously adopt Amplify Science Curriculum. Unfortunately, we had an interruption. This was supposed to come to the board in the spring of 2020, and we had this thing called COVID that happened, and we closed our schools. And for 2 years, we were pretty disrupted, and we weren't able to bring this back for obvious reasons. There was a lot going on. People were overwhelmed. Dropping a whole science adoption on our staff felt mean and probably not a good thing to do. So we did not do that. And it wasn't until this fall Just being honest, the timing was bad, and we need people bought in. So this fall, we were able to revive the committee, bring back 18 of the original members, and we got together, we looked at the recommendation, we talked to people. People actually wanted to see what had changed in 2 years, so we had Amplify come out, we looked at their new virtual curriculum, they've actually added some things that teachers liked, and then we had a vote of that committee again, and the vote was reaffirm your commitment to Amplify, repilot Amplify and Discovery in the classrooms, or restart the entire adoption process, which, if I didn't say it out loud, it takes about a year to a year and a half to get through this process. Teachers, in their wisdom, said, we want to continue with our recommendation. We do not want to do this again. We like this curriculum. We want to move forward. Today, I'm here to bring those recommendations forward. So the recommendation is in grades 3-5 to adopt the Amplify Science curriculum. It was unanimously recommended after the rigorous review by the adoption committee. It's hands-on, it's engaging, it has labs, has virtual modeling, it has field experiences. It will help our students build a strong foundation in science that they can carry into middle and high school. It provides teachers with a really powerful online learning management system, an LMS. All the curriculum is both hard copies and online. All the books, textbooks, assessments. There's actually simulations online. I was playing with some today. They're very cool, and how you manipulate like an ecosystem by removing different variables. There's also one thing teachers really liked is there is a video of a teacher, a skilled science teacher teaching every single lesson. So if you go into a unit and you're like, oh my gosh, I know nothing about ecosystems, you can watch the teacher teach the lesson probably at 2 times speed, and then you can feel prepared to go into the class the next day. So that was really nice. It will prepare students fully standards-based for the CAST exam, and 2 years ago, we adopted 6th grade Amplify, and then a year before that, we did 7 and 8, so this aligns with our middle school program. And alignment is important in terms of the student experience and just building knowledge. So this is a strong recommendation for Amplify Science in these grades. In thinking about K2, I'm actually recommending that we continue the use of supplemental science programs, including we've been using Mystery Science, which is an online NGSS aligned curriculum, and we have science embedded in our benchmark units. Talking to teachers at these grade levels and thinking about what's on their plates. So one thing we hear often is, oh my gosh, there's so much on our plates, you never take anything off our plates. This was an area where we felt like a big box curriculum with a lot of hands-on pieces was not going to work right now for K2 teachers. Also, we have a math goal where we're focusing on math. We are also focusing on, as you saw in Hannah's presentation, this foundational reading piece is really important in terms of developing reading skills. So there's a lot in there. We can't do 3 things at once. And because it's embedded in other pieces and we have some strengths there, we would pause there and continue with what we're currently doing. Transitional kindergarten, again, we want to continue to explore. Very new still. We're still learning the age of the students, and they're still getting younger. We do have a curriculum that has embedded science in it, which is Pre-K on My Way and Benchmark. So again, the kids are getting exposed to science, and there's things happening in the classrooms. We want to support all these grade levels with hands-on materials. There's Mystery Science actually has mystery packs, which are packaged experiments and hands-on materials teachers can just use that are aligned to the units, and they can do hands-on materials with their kids in the classroom. So the next step in this process would be public review. And per Ed Code, a public review of curriculum is recommended for 30 days prior to a formal adoption, and that each district board will promote involvement of parents and other members of the community in the selection of instructional materials. So we know this is a priority in Rocklin. We want parents to be part of our engaged in our curriculum and have full access to our curriculum, so we've taken some extra steps to make sure that's happening. We're very committed to making this available to everyone who wants to see it. So some of the things we've put in place, and this will take place over the next 30 days, starting tomorrow morning when an email to all Rocklin families will go out with this information in it so they can begin to access immediately. We've created a K-5 science website that has been created to facilitate public access, and it looks like this. And what it has is it has the different grade levels, and you can access, it says a little bit about what it is. It gives you videos, websites, and standards alignment for Pre-K on My Way and Mystery Science and Benchmark. And then for Amplify, there's more. So you can actually, where it says access to online curriculum, you can go in, you can actually preview the student experience and look at the simulations, the books, the readers, the lessons, and get that experience full access. If you want to actually look at it in person, box curriculum, we have that here at the district office. And there's a sign up here where you can sign up for an in-person review and come in and look at all the materials in person. And then we have 2 other links where you can submit questions and also feedback on the curriculum. So we'll be opening up access, and if none of these things work for you, there's also a phone number and email. You can send us an email or call us, and we will work with you to give you access to the curriculum. So we're hoping we can remove any barriers for anybody who wants to take a look at this curriculum.
Dr. McDonald, when we pilot the curriculum, are parents notified of that we're piloting in their classrooms?
Yes.
And how's that done?
So when we pilot in a classroom, again, members of the committee piloted, we send home a letter to all parents saying, we're piloting X curriculum, this is what it is, this is when it is, this is what you can expect. And we've had digital access to these for a while, you can preview the lessons here. If you have questions, you can reach out to us. And we do that with not just science, but all curricula.
No, but thank you for, Mr. McDonald, thank you for kind of going over that process of the public review and how making it available online so parents maybe that are working mornings, evenings, they can look at it while the kids are napping.
Yep.
I so appreciate that. Now, I know there's the 30 days mentioned. If somebody wasn't listening tonight, is tonight the trigger of that? Or if they, they're gone at Little League right now, they're not listening tonight, how would they know, hey, there's 30 days to preview before something like this is actions taken?
Well, if you're not paying attention to the board meeting, I can't help you, Ms. Sanoff. I mean, and I can't think of who. No, so tomorrow morning, probably I'm sending a message at teachers at 8. We'll have a teacher message out to all our USD parents, K-12, TK-12, by 9 o'clock, I'm going to say, and it will have all this information in it. So all the links, all the forms, the online access. So check your email if you're not listening, you're not listening. But we're gonna and we'll probably send that out a couple times to make sure everybody has access to that. And we're also posting it at all school sites so parents, when they come in offices, can see curriculum adoption. Here it is. Here's what you need to know. The next steps would be March 15th board meeting. We would be bringing this back for a board vote for action by the board. And before that time, we would share any feedback we collected during this period with trustees. We'll summarize major themes, but we'll give you all the data, all the raw data as well. And then we'll be available to answer any questions you have prior to the board meeting to make sure you're fully informed in terms of making a decision and hearing input from the community. If the science curriculum is approved by the board, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers, we will purchase curriculum that would be delivered before the end of the school year. Many teachers like to review it over the summer. We have professional development for teachers in grades 3-5 on NGSS and Amplify to be provided on April 10th, which is our staff professional development day. We do want to do follow-up training for teachers in 3-5. In addition to that formal training, we know that this is going to take time. And 6th grade was so hungry for this curriculum and they begged and pleaded for it during COVID. We gave it to them, and they were happy about that. But now they feel like they want more training too. So we're gonna re-up with them and bring them along too in terms of this training we're gonna be doing. We'll do training on the 10th, but then next year we have several professional development days where we'll follow up and even do some coaching in classrooms and other pieces to make sure we get this right. And yeah, so no adopt and drop is what I'm saying. We're gonna support this. I know teachers are concerned about that. And then we'll do parent information nights, which we did with our other adoptions too, like science nights. Come and take a look at it in the classroom, learn more about Amplify Science, learn more about the home pieces or what you can see from home, and so we'll make sure that happens as well.
Is there, so this adopt and drop or doing this extended support, is that unique to this Amplify curriculum and just the nature of the different components of it, or is that a standard procedure to have that ongoing training?
It's a great question. I want to call it a standard procedure going forward. So we're entering a new round of adoptions. We're late with science, but about every 2 years, we would never do an adoption every year because that would be mean and not nice to teachers. So we are spacing these out over 2 years, but we're looking at 2 years math, and 2 years after that would be language arts is what's on our schedule. That can always be moved around. But we want to make sure in all those adoptions going forward that it can't just be one day of here's all the PD and here's your curriculum and now go do it, because we lose a lot there and we lose a lot of value and a lot of buy-in. So we know that good professional development is multiple days followed by coaching and support ongoing and designing that how teachers want it. Some people want it in the classroom, some people want an online check-in, some people want to work with their peers and just have conversations. So we want to facilitate all those kinds of.
And we would start this program in fall of 23?
The goal would be to launch in 23 and do there's 4 units at each grade level. So our goal next year would be to implement a minimum of 2. Again, kind of moving this forward slowly and getting people used to this, because this is a lift for 3-5 too, and they're doing math. So as a district goal.
What would we do for the other 2 units then?
What's that?
What would we do for the other, if we were going to do, like, are we doing some of the old and some of the new in the fall of 23?
Right, we would be looking to, you can continue to use supplemental pieces or old, but we want to at least try 2 of these Amplify and implement with Fidelity, and then we'll continue to kind of develop and move forward.
And did you say, so this originally started, what, 2018 or 2019?
16 was when the state.
Our process
this
started in 2019.
Yeah, so but you had said that things have been added since that COVID break. So is this something that's fully up to date, or with the nature of it being partially interactive, do they just Amplify update? Or I'm just wondering, since there has been a period of a few years since it was originally started, is this going to be up to date?
Yeah, and that was the teacher question when we got the committee back together was, is it changed? Like, we really liked it in 2020, and is it the same? Is it, sometimes they change the technology and it's worse. Or is it better? And they felt after seeing it again, that's why we brought the publisher back, they felt like it was better. They liked the enhancements to the technology piece. And that's one of the good things about the newer curriculum is we used to just get a box and it was, that's what you had for 8 years. And if your book, if something changed, then too bad. Now with digital curriculum, it's actually updated fairly regularly to stay more current.
And those little books that they get, because on the website it shows that they have small books for each unit. Are those like what we see for some of the other subjects where they're like consumable books, they bring them home, or are they reusable books?
They get hard copy reusable books, but students have access to every one of those books in a digital reader.
Oh, awesome.
So if you want to access them from home, you have all of them. And you can, and the readers are complementary to the standards. So they just support the learning, provide more information about the standards. There's 4 units, I said, and each unit has, 10 to 12 lessons, but then they have 6 readers that are aligned with each of the units that are all digital and hard copy in the classroom.
I think we've been pretty clear in the past about our desire for access and transparency. I really appreciate the work on access. I've got a question for you. The committee had science teachers, instructional coaches, elementary principals, and district office administration. Tell me more about why no parents or community members.
So historically, we haven't had parents or community members on adoption committees. So Ed Code's pretty clear that the majority of members of those committees are teachers. It actually is mandated. And that the parent input piece is on once the curriculum has been recommended or reviewed, they have an opportunity to look at it. That doesn't mean we can't change that, but that's been our past practice, is to do that. My concern, and we've had this conversation about LCAP too, and this is not an insurmountable barrier by any means, but teachers are using this curriculum. And so it's a very, and I talked about the rubric and the process for selection, and it's very knowledge specific to the teacher profession. So for a parent to step in with that lens, I think is difficult. It's not impossible, but they're really they're using their experience as a teacher and how to interact with students to look at a curriculum and say, yeah, that's not gonna work. That lesson you put there where you're having us do that, no. And a person who's not in a classroom or with students every day may not have that lens to make those decisions about curriculum at that level. So it's because it's more than just content, it's also, there's a lot of process in what's gonna work in a classroom. So again, not insurmountable in terms of a parent participating in that committee, but probably 20 to 30 hours and maybe more in terms of the learning curve to actually look at curriculum in that lens.
I hear you. And, you know, I also see the number of days that you met together. It would be a lot to ask. I don't think it's insurmountable. I also know it's been done in the past. Tiffany and I were both on a committee 8 years ago looking at different curriculum. The value in that is that there's a chance to look at it and give input before it's chosen versus once it's chosen, then it is what it is. So.
And I hear you on the learning curve, right? I hear you on, you know, a parent coming and looking at a science curriculum if they don't have the science background, science education. Definitely hear you on that. I just think this is an opportunity for us to have there be just greater understanding, greater buy-in from the community. I think the more transparent we are, the more opportunities we provide for parents to come. And those that want to give of that time and educate themselves and just inform in the process. And I don't know, they might say, hey, this is great and be a champion out in the community, right? And so obviously not saying that it should be open-ended to anyone and everyone at all times. I mean, the curriculum should be accessible to anyone and everyone. A committee, I do agree there needs to be a commitment to say, I'm going to participate in this committee. I understand these are the goals of this committee. But I do think that was actually a really valuable experience. And we had teachers there, we had some administration, some parents, and from varied viewpoints. I would say, I'm thinking back, the parents that were on there, each of us were very involved on campuses in one way or another. So there was a little bit of a touch point regarding to the curriculum we were looking at. Sure. But I'd love to see us find a way where we just incorporate in a few parents that's, you know, from the district, whether it be appointee, whether it be just an opportunity for them to open up. I would love to see us support that.
Yeah, me too.
Trustees, just as you have, you know, indicated kind of a different expectation in our process, I want to be just share that when we will be bringing forward to the board to consider world language and high school science, and those processes are to the point where all that type of information and work that Dr. McDonald indicated for this has already occurred. So we won't be able to meet that kind of expectation on these. So we didn't want you to think as you hear these that, hey, wait a second, we had asked for this and where was this? As Dr. McDonald indicated, our next big, if you will, full-scale process will be mathematics in a couple years. Mm-hmm. So we, you know, because for smaller, like AP Environmental Science, it's one class, one teacher, we use a different type of process. So we would look to incorporate this as we go forward in thinking about our math adoption process in a couple years. So just not that we don't want you to feel we aren't hearing your interest in not being responsive to that.
Thank
Question. You. So the state came out with NGSS in 2016.
They adopted, yeah.
Adopted,
NGSS.
and then curriculum was set up in 2018. Something I'm just kind of going back through,
Let
right?
me get back to that slide.
That's when the state kind of collected and said, hey, here's the top 5, 6, 8 programs we like, whatever, right?
So we So 2016 was NGSS. 2018, the frameworks were completed.
Okay.
And so then curriculum companies were working on it, getting curriculum together, and we came together in 2019, which is when they released.
When did and then that CAST exam? When was that?
CAST came out in, gosh, we didn't have it for a couple of years. That's a great question. I can look that up.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So I I know we have great teachers, I know we're doing good things, just like, hopefully, like, we're not teaching, or we're not testing them on A and teaching them B, right? So hopefully, like, trying to cover that gap, right? I'm like, now the new program, I think it's more aligned with the cast and gets them going, that hopefully that's not an insurmountable gap we can cover.
We have been working on old standards, but teachers have been using a lot of NGSS supplemental resources, thankfully.
Thanks for being creative, yeah.
Because we were delayed in our adoption of science. So now because the cast for 5th grade is 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade standards, so now we're going to be, I think we'll see a big difference in terms of preparedness for cast with our students, for sure. Any other questions?
Thank you for all your information on this.
So just more of a request, next time when we present, can you bring the hands-on experiment and do it for us?
Yeah. I just don't want to take your time. I'll do that stuff all day. Seriously.
It's magic. Dress up.
I heard it from you, Mr. Counter, so.
Yeah, Dr. Ronald, he'll come in goggles and a white coat next time if you'd like.
I lab coat. That would be great.
Okay,
I do
thank
want to
you.
say the access that you created, the website and all the information and the multiple ways to access the curriculum was amazing. Who's running all that? Like, that looks like a lot.
Is that specific to our district?
Yeah.
Meaning, like, this isn't something they provided. I mean,
No,
obviously, we had to create it.
I created that, yeah.
Can I hope so many parents are listening and
Yeah.
right now. Like, that is
That's
phenomenal,
so
though.
much work.
Not every district does that.
No,
And
I
I appreciate you taking those extra steps, though. And I know it was mentioned to me, earlier of, hey, we've heard the desire of the board to make sure that there is full transparency and anybody can really, and I think that's always been there, but this is just increasing accessibility and understanding that parents' availability might not be at the time that we provide options at the district. And so I really appreciate you doing that.
No, we did a little thing called social studies a few years back, and you may have heard, and we heard that, and we do. We're listening, and we want to learn, and we want to provide that. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we will now open agenda item 11.1. Public comments on non-agenda items. We want to remind everyone that this agenda item is to give anyone in attendance an opportunity to ask questions or discuss non-agenda items with the board. The board is not permitted to deliberate or take action on non-agenda items, but may refer the matter to a staff member for follow-up. When you approach the podium, please restate your name, the city you live in, and the school your children attend. You have 3 minutes to address the board. All comments must be respectful. And we now invite Mr. Peter Constant to come on up. And thank you for your patience. This was a long time to wait. Yes.
Yeah. Well, all the other districts, they have it right at the beginning. But my name is Peter Constant. I live in Roseville. I do not have a kid in the district. I was from Roseville Joint Union. But I'm from William Jessup University. I'm the student body president of the student government. And I would like to formally invite the district to a local high school leadership conference that we are hosting on April 14th from 1 to 4 p.m. I sent an email a couple days ago to all the board members and the principals inviting you with a PDF of the flyer of the leadership conference. We'll be going over leadership principles, effective communication, team building, and small group dynamics. Myself and my dad will be keynote speakers, and we have invited school districts from about a 45-minute radius of Jessup, including Western Placer, Roseville Joint Union, San Juan, Center, Folsom, Cordova, and I think I'm missing one. We already have been starting to get commitments from Western Placer, and Roseville is working on their transportation. So there is interest, and we are starting to bring in schools. I'm formally inviting you guys to help put pressure on the schools to attend. I think this is a unique opportunity that hasn't been done before in Placer County, to be able to bring local high schools to a college campus, to have some of the best and most qualified educators in our Leadership Master's program to give valuable insight and education to high school students. And to be able to have a platform and an environment that local high schools can have interactions with other ones, so that there's a sense of community and unity through school districts. You guys all have my email if you have any questions, because you can't ask any now. The Instagram is for SGA is also on the flyer, and Tiffany has my phone number and a way to contact myself or my dad with any questions or comments. This is free for all participants. We are just trying to welcome as many students and provide education to all students. So thank you, and I have a bunch of flyers. I don't know who I can give
Peter,
this to.
we can ask you questions.
Oh,
We're just
okay.
not allowed to deliberate or take action.
Oh, okay, perfect. So if you have any questions.
You can ask questions, yeah.
Are you sure?
Am I wrong?
Because it's not an agendized item, if there's like a clarification, like a contact or thing that typically is permitted, but to have extensive discussion, deliberation, because it's not agendized, would.
Okay. So not a question.
I think the meeting may be ending soon, and there may
I will
be
be
an
after you.
opportunity.
I'll be here after the meeting
All
since
right.
it's almost
Thank
over.
you very much. It sounds very exciting. Thank you.
I'm super excited, so thank you.
Closed session.